We're back with main studio guest, imposter for former Senator Al Israel, but I'll refer to him as Al Israel anyway because he's done a pretty good job imitating him. So hey, good job so far. Good job. You have one more point to make.
Yes. Let me just finish off on the GPA. They're bloated. Do you know that nearly 1/3 of their capacity, the electrical producing capacity, is done now by outside private contractors?
Sure.
But have they reduced their payroll by 1/3? No. Have they reduced it by 1/4? No. Have they reduced it by 1/5? No.
So operational cost stays the same?
The cost remains the same because they know that every 6 months they'll get a salary increase. So my last item, number 7, is privatization. If we sell GPA, GIDA, and GIA, the proceeds will more than wipe off our $1 billion debt. That $1 billion debt that Guam now owns is an albatross around our neck. It's going to sink us next year or the year after when we have to start paying for it. Where will the money come from to pay for that $1 billion debt that Guam has? The only reason is sell some of the agencies. We've had 2 occasions when 2 institutions were privatized, and they were so extremely successful that Guam doesn't want to repeat the successful incident. The first one is GTA, the Guam Telephone Authority. If you recall, when it was run by the government, it took 8 months to get a telephone or to get anything repaired. The moment they sold it, you got you reported an incident. They came down the next day and fixed it, and the following day they called you up and says, "Is there anything else we can do for you?
Is it still working?"
And is it still working? What else can we do?
Sure.
And this is using the same personnel that they had under Guam. So what does it mean? It's management. The second instance are dysfunctional school system that are uneducating our students. They can barely read or write. The Dodea schools, the military Dodea schools, they use those same teachers in public school. They hire the teachers away from public school and put them in their school system. And do you know that the Dodea school system has one of the highest, if not among the highest, academic rating there is?
It's management.
Management again. So, because there's a lot of government interference. So if we want a better quality of life, let's reduce our government, privatize, oh, what a nasty word this is, privatize some of the units, and let's have a better quality and more efficient and more productive.
But that's not the political reality. I mean, you know, Guam for the longest time has been known as this choice employment. And so in the privatization, you do that. There's a stigma that you will disemploy a lot of people when you privatize.
One of the conditions of GTA is that they retain every employee. They could not fire them, and they did. They just reduced their force through attrition, through retirement, and retraining of the employees.
Now let me ask you, for someone who's in tourism industry as well. You know, we're competing against everywhere else. We're looking, of course, our still #1 visitors are the Japanese. Looks like that number has decreased a little bit. It's a good thing that, of course, Russia has kind of picked up. They're staying longer. Koreans are picking up. But the expenditure in the Japanese is going down. Their yen has dropped. So therefore, they're probably either traveling more domestically within Japan, or to destinations where their yen can go a little further because it's not going as far when they exchange it for the U.S. dollar. So when property values are again reevaluated and higher property taxes, as a hotelier, you're going to pay more property taxes. You pass it on to the consumer, right?
Yes.
You pass it on to the consumer.
Most legislatures don't.
Sure. Which means, again, when you're competing, because we're a competing destiny, that takes you, again, your competitive edge goes down that much more, does it?
Regrettably, the kind of tourists we are attracted to Guam are the budget tourists. They're the ones that don't have the extra money to spend on restaurants or in stores. They have enough to pay for their airfare and their hotel rooms for 3 days, and then they go and buy the ramen noodles set. We don't have anything to offer them in Guam other than a beautiful climate, a great beach, and that's all we have.
Now, again, that being said, you have the budget traveler, So as a budget traveler, say, hey, this is more of a budget destination. But what does that do again when you have to raise because power rates are going up, water rates are going up, if property taxes go up, you're going to have to raise your rates as well. So what does that do to the budget destination? If you're compared to other budget destinations, now you'll be losing an edge, your competitive edge, would you not?
Not only that, but what's even worse is that normally in the tourist industry, labor is your biggest cost.
Sure.
Here in Guam, it's our electrical costs. Our electrical costs are phenomenally high. There's no end in sight to it. Second, to give you an example, in the past, when they came to Guam, they had 3 great destinations for 3 days. One was shopping, the other one was sightseeing, and the third was Cocos Island. Cocos Island was a major destination for the tourists. They'd stayed there the entire day. Cocos Island had their own hotel, they had their own restaurants. I used to go up there just to enjoy their food in the restaurants. But we had a typhoon, and the typhoon wiped off all the sand. It washed it off to the beach. The owners and operators of Cocos Island, which was Japan Airlines, wanted to retrieve the sand to refurbish their hotel and to rebuild their hotel.
Government bureaucracy steps in.
GEPA stopped them from doing it. The sand said, that sand belongs to the ocean, it stays there. As a result, one of the 3 destinations in Guam was wiped out by government bureaucracy. There's a good example.
Yeah. And again, when we're looking as to be competitive, we are competing against other destinations as well, and those destinations are looking and try and entice not only tourists, but they're also trying to entice business to come and set up shop there. They're offering tax holidays and things of that nature. Airlines are flying, and they're able to have competitive rates because there's competition. There's competition in airlines. We don't have that here. So the prices. So we are at a disadvantage a lot of times. Although, as you said, we are a budget destination, we are out budgeting ourselves in the sense of all these rate increases, and again,
which we have to pass on to the consumer.
You pass on to the consumer, so it takes you out of that edge. Likewise, again, I mean, are we going to collect with these reevaluations of property assessments that are going to be done? Are you going to collect in the very near future what you anticipate to collect, or are you going to put people over that line where they're going to lose their house or their property, because not only they're going to pay for property taxes now, they've also had power rate increases, water rate increases, and as well as paying for trash now. But hold your thoughts. We'll be right back, pay some bills, and then we'll close up when we come back. Be right back.